Good evening, all. This is the October 27th, 2025 meeting of the Crescent Springs City Council. I'll start with a pledge and a prayer. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dear Lord, we come to you today. Beginning this meeting is we're going to sit here and make decisions that affect where we live, where we work, where we play. Put into our hearts and our minds what's good for our residents, our businesses, and those that visit us. In your name we pray. Amen. Amen. Roll call, please.
Jeff Smith.
Here.
Janine Bell Smith. Present. John Kylie.
Here.
Mark Wittenberger.
Here.
Bob Mueller.
Here.
Carol McGowan. Here.
Thank you very much. First item is the approval of minutes.
Make a motion to approve the minutes of the last series.
Second. I'll second.
I have a question about the minutes.
Okay.
I couldn't get the video up today. It came on about 5:04. There's no sound on it, which I was going to review it to make sure. So it goes back to the Kent County PDS presentation with Rob Hines.
Can you speak up, please?
Rob Hines,
Okay.
PDS, remember you had Rob here?
Mm-hmm.
And about the services that would be provided by the Kent County Planning Services. And he said that they provide the KRS by Chapter 100 services and review subdivision proposal and provide the enforcement services for 17 out of 20 cities. Crescent Springs agreement in spite is similar to that of Ludlow and Ellesmere, but then it goes on to say, Janine Bell Smith asked if for a breakdown of PDS does a code enforcement officer. She asked if they had dealt with tag dogs and abandoned cars. Mr. Hines said they did not. We go down a couple paragraphs. Janine Bell asked the difference in the cost. It was the cost that we were concerned about, PDS and an in-house code enforcement. We have Mr. Mark Chapman as our code enforcement director. Is that correct, sir?
That's correct.
Thank you. Mr. Hines stated that the code enforcement is not a KRS Chapter 100 function, so the service is billed 100% to the city. He further explained that the many jurisdictions is a worthwhile to have in an in-house code enforcement officer. If PDS were to provide the service, this is where the issue comes in, and I need clarification on it, the profit would be exponentially higher than someone that would be in-house. The numbers that I had run by PDS show a difference in the numbers. It would be much less expensive if we used PDS as opposed to an in-house code enforcement. So that was something that I was trying to go back and listen to see exactly what was said at that time. So I cannot approve the minutes because until that section is remediated.
Okay. What you read is how I remember them. That he did say that it would be less expensive for us to do it than for them to do it. But we have a motion and a second on the floor, so we will have a vote on. You're certainly welcome to vote against it.
Oh, I will do so because I want clarification of exactly what that paragraph says, and if it's done in error or if it is correct, I'm not sure.
Okay. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Jeff Smith.
Yes.
Janine Bell Smith.
No.
John Kylie.
Yes.
Mark Wittenberger.
Yes.
Bob Mueller.
Yes.
Carol McGowan.
Yes.
Passes 5-1. Next item is the Ireland development. We've got a presentation from PDS. How are you, sir? If you can identify yourself and we'll get started.
Sure. Thank you. My name's Andy Vodakovich. I am the Director of Planning with PDS. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Daly. Thank you, council members, for having me this evening. I was asked here to be here this evening to give a presentation on a proposed development over on Ireland Road. A lot of what I'm going to be going over tonight was exactly what was presented to the Planning Commission at their September Planning Commission meeting. So as the mayor stated, and as you can see on the screen here, that we are considering an amended concept plan for an area along Ireland Road. And I'll get into a little bit more specifics of where this property is located at. So just for reference, the area is located within the suburban sub-area of the comprehensive plan, although it's like right on the border of the first ring suburban area as well. And this is the site. It is it is located on the corner of Hare Street and Ireland Avenue. It is currently mostly vacant. There's a slight downward slope from Ireland into the site. Surrounding the site is a mixture of multifamily residential, single-family residential, and commercial uses. Directly adjacent to the site to the northeast, is an adjacent multifamily development. This site was rezoned back in 2006 to multifamily and was originally supposed to be a part of this original development. So you may all be familiar with the site, but just to provide some photos for context, this is looking southeast along Ireland Avenue. The site is the grassy area on the left-hand side of the screen. On the right-hand side across Ireland, you see the rears of the commercial businesses that front on Buttermilk Pike. So this is looking directly into the site from Ireland. This is the adjacent multifamily development that was originally approved, and again, this was originally planned to be an extension of. This is looking northwest along Ireland, so Ireland's on the left, looking towards Hare Street. Again, the site's on the right-hand side. And then this is taken from the intersection of Harris and Ireland looking into the site. Again, you can see the intersection in the foreground, the vacant site is the grassy area, and then the adjacent multifamily. So I apologize, I was saying 2006, but it was actually rezoned in 2007. So in 2007, there was a map amendment to change this to multifamily residential, and that was approved with a stage 1 development plan. And then in 2025, the city adopted the new zoning ordinance, which converted this from the old R2 zone to the multifamily zone in the new zoning ordinance. And then finally in 2025, there was a proposal submitted, and it was determined that this was a major change to the previously approved development plan. And again, I will have more information on that previously approved plan versus what we're currently looking at this evening. So the site is zoned multifamily, as well as the areas to the north and east of the site. Areas to the southwest, south, and southeast of the site are zoned mixed use. And then areas to the northwest of the site are zoned residential compact subdivision. The current existing land use reflects the zoning, so the site is currently vacant. To the north and east of the site, you have the multifamily development. To the southeast and southwest of the site, you have a mixture of commercial and office uses. And then to the northwest and across Ireland on the opposite corner is identified for single-family uses. So Ireland Avenue and Hare Street are currently classified as local streets. However, where you see the green dotted line, that is being considered for an upgrade to a collector street. And then Buttermilk Pike is identified as collector street. So the residential multifamily zone permits multifamily dwellings. All setbacks must be 25 feet, and there must be a maximum density allowed of 20 dwellings per net acre. So, as I stated, in 2007, this was rezoned, and this was the map amendment that was approved at the time. So, I'm going to focus specifically on the site in question. However, as you will see, this was intended to be an extension of the development to what would be the top of the screen here. So, the plan is, let's see, so two buildings, two townhome buildings. There was a proposal for 10 dwelling units in each building, so that's a total of 20 dwelling units. The density of the overall development was 18.35 dwelling units per net acre. The plan also indicated 17 off-street parking spaces that you see highlighted there in gray, as well as garages and driveway parking spaces. And this original plan did have a connection from the off-street parking area to the north, and access to the site would have been from off of Anderson Road through the access to the through the parking lot to the north. So that was just a brief summary. Now we're looking at the proposed development plan. So the proposed development plan is once again showing 2 buildings. There are 8 units in one building and 9 units in another building for a total of 17 dwelling units, and that is 15.59 dwelling units per net acre. So again, the original was 20, and now we're looking at 17. According to this development plan, the setbacks would be 15 feet from Ireland and Harris Roads and 12 feet from the adjacent commercial. As I stated before, the requirement is 25 feet along all sides. So in this development plan, access would be off of Harris Street, and so the previous access from the adjacent development would not be a part of this development. And then there would be an access drive that would then serve a total of 49 off-street parking spaces. That includes the basically the on-street parking that's kind of north or on the top side of the access drive, and then driveway and garage spaces with each individual unit. And then finally, there are also shown pedestrian walks. It's a little hard to see, but it's showing up in that kind of pink purple area from each unit out to Ireland Avenue. Also included in this is a stormwater detention area, 2 retaining walls. So there is one retaining wall located adjacent to the detention area, and then another retaining wall located adjacent to the commercial area to the south. So this is for the landscaping. There's a 15-foot landscaping area located along Harris, a 5-foot landscaping area located adjacent to the existing multifamily to the north and east of the site. Existing vegetation, which is proposed to remain adjacent to the commercial uses. And finally, there is a proposal for a development sign located at the intersection of Harris and Ireland. So the Planning Commission heard this at their September regular meeting, and they found that there was consistency among the goals and objectives, the suburban, sub-area, and housing elements of the comprehensive plan. They found that the proposed development will allow for infill development on underutilized lots and will provide new housing on a lot that was previously approved for similar types of housing. The proposed development will allow housing in close proximity to employment centers and services, and in an area that is appropriate for development at this proposed density. The proposed development is also in close proximity to where utilities, commercial activity, and community services already exist. They did find that there was insufficient information regarding mobility and housing. So although the plan indicates pedestrian walkways from the building to Ireland Avenue, which is good and provides connections to each unit, sidewalks will be required along both sides of Ireland Avenue. Additionally, although the applicant has noted within the submission that additional housing is needed per the comprehensive plan, the expected price points have not been submitted to determine if these units fall within one of the areas of need. The recommended land use map identifies the site for mixed uses. Mixed uses in this particular case can include a mixture of one or more of commercial, office, or residential uses. There are no steep slopes or developmentally sensitive areas on the site. So the statutes state that before a map amendment is granted, the planning commission or the legislative body must find that the map amendment is in agreement with the adopted comprehensive plan, or if there is not a finding that it's in agreement with the comprehensive plan, that the existing zoning classification given to the property is inappropriate and the proposed is appropriate, or that there have been major changes of an economic, physical, or social nature that were not anticipated when the comprehensive plan was adopted. So, as I stated several times, but on September 4th, 2025, the Planning Commission held a public hearing, and after that public hearing recommended favorably, again finding that this development was generally consistent with the adopted comprehensive plan, generally meets the zoning requirements, except for the setbacks. However, the Planning Commission did approve concurrent variance requests, and they also based their recommendation on the testimony presented at the public hearing, which you should have a copy of, or at least a summary of, in your paperwork there. So, as it is with all cases that generally come through us, this is just a concept plan. There are a lot more specific engineering and design things that need to be checked off. If this is approved, the applicant will need to address all of these when they come in for their final development plan or permit approval. So specific information regarding site lighting, landscaping, fences, walls, excavation, and signage. So they again are providing some information just as a concept, but we will need to know the exact information if this is going to move forward. And then, as I also mentioned, at the September 4th Planning Commission meeting, the Planning Commission approved a couple of variances. A variance to reduce the setback from 25 feet to 15 feet along Ireland Avenue, and then a variance to decrease the setback from 25 feet to 12 feet along the southeast property line adjacent to the commercial area. The setback along Ireland Avenue, so I know this is shown along Harris, but they granted the variance along here. The setback anyway along Harris, it is compliant. The zoning ordinance states that that the setback on a corner lot along the second frontage can be half of the front yard that is required. So that would be 25 feet, that would be 14 and a half feet. So that is compliant. 12 and a half feet. I'll be happy to answer questions that you may have.
Well, you're saying the 15 feet is now 12 and a half, correct?
So it's a 15 feet on both sides. I'm sorry if that was a little confusing. So from both roads, it'll be 15 feet from the right of way. But they only needed a variance for along one of those frontages because, again, it's a corner lot, so the second frontage can be half of the front yard, which is 12 and a half feet. But what they are showing is 15 feet from both sides.
And also, as far as the setback, they're not including the right-of-way in there too. I thought one Patrick advised, just so everybody knows, the right-of-way is what, 12 and a half feet off the curb, am I correct?
Yeah, so I remember this being presented at the Planning Commission. I don't remember what the exact numbers, but just from the zoning ordinance standpoint, we measure the setbacks from the property line, which is the right-of-way line. But I think what the point was is that, that doesn't necessarily mean that's from the edge of pavement. There's going to be additional area there before you actually get to the road, and that's for where like all the utilities and sidewalks and things like that need to go. So how close it actually is from the edge of pavement, I don't recall, but maybe the applicant can elaborate on that.
And one more quick question, if you could you flip back to the slide, I think it was 20 or 21, where the green markings were, if you could advise, I think it was that one there.
This one?
That one there, yeah. Could you advise what all that markings are there?
Yeah, so the green hatched area are areas of developmentally sensitive area. And those areas are classified as such because they either have steep slopes, sensitive underlying geology, or are soils subject to flooding. And oftentimes it's a combination of multiple factors. So that's what that is indicating there. I don't know exactly, you know, what the factor is in this area that necessarily kicks it in to that DSA, but it's got to be one of those three factors. Again, either steep slopes, underlying geology, sensitive underlying geology, or soils that are prone to flooding, or a combination of that. So you can see it kind of wraps around the site, but doesn't actually include the site. And then the blue lines here are actual blue line streams that have been identified by the USGS as blue line.
So is that area prone to flooding then, which is going to be where this development's going to be priced?
So not this area specifically. There are areas that you see here that is close, especially along the, I guess you'd say to the northeast. It kind of comes out a little bit close, but not actually literally on the site in question.
Now, a member of the Kent County Planning Commission, they made a comment, well, the SD1 will take care of that. They're probably, I guess they were referring to the detention basins.
Yeah.
Is that going to be possible or feasible for SD1 to do that?
Yeah, so all of that, as was mentioned at the Planning Commission, stormwater detention, the design of that facility is all handled and approved on a project of this size by SD1.
So I guess my famous question, I've been trying to find out the information for, maybe someone here this evening can, why is it undevelopable if they don't get the setbacks? What is the cause and reason for the causation that it can't be developed unless we have these setbacks and we violate the Z21, 25 feet, which is required, and go to the 15? Why?
Sure.
Why? That's, but I haven't been able to get that answer.
Sure. Well, and I appreciate the question. I think that's a question that perhaps the applicant can elaborate on.
Can we get an answer to that?
The applicant is here, I believe, or not.
Yep. Yes, I think representatives, yeah, from the applicant are here.
Can I just say a quick part? Is the detention basin area in the plan replacing what I'm picturing today on the site?
Sure. So I don't know the exact layout of what's there currently, but it's going to be kind of located in this upper right-hand corner. So if you kind of look at this area here, and then we go back to, oops, I'm going the wrong direction. Back to the map.
It's about between the two buildings,
Yeah, it's going to be located right in this area here.
but the one that exists today is kind of like halfway across the lot.
Sure. I don't think the proposal is to replace anything that's existing. It's going to be in addition to whatever was required for the adjacent developments.
And he's gonna-
Okay.
Any other questions here?
Just one more quick, the retaining wall for the detention pond, either way, does this show size on that?
At this scale, I can't see if there is a size or not, but again, I think maybe the applicant can provide those
And
details.
then one more quick, you showed the screenage or the foliage for the front there, and I think you said 15 feet there.
Mhm.
Is that 15 feet wide or just 15 feet long, linear? Or-
It's going to have to be 15 feet wide along the entire frontage.
Gotcha. Do they have a concept of where they want to put in there? or-
No, nothing specific. You know, it's going to be required in the details of like the specific, you know, species and whatnot. That there's a lot of different options they could consider, and we'll have to verify that at a future stage.
But it should be 15 feet wide.
Correct.
Thank you.
Have you been to the site to see the layout? Because there's telephone poles there
Mhm.
in front. Will those telephone poles need to be removed?
I think that's a question that the applicant can answer because I don't know.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Well, I appreciate your time. If the applicant would like to come forward and answer the questions that have been asked and possibly give any different information that you might have, please identify yourself.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. My name is Tom Bridenstine of Bridenstine Legal Services. I'm the attorney for the applicant, Legacy Management, and for Ross Krujstans, who's here with me tonight. As I mentioned, I'm with the law firm of Bridenstine Legal Services. Address is 855 Greenville Avenue, Cincinnati, Ohio, 45246. Just by way of additional introduction, Mr. Mayor. Not only am I an attorney, but I'm also a planner. I'm a certified planner by the American Institute of Certified Planners, so they got a kind of a twofer right now for you tonight. Before we get to the substance and to the questions that were asked, I must, and unfortunately I must respectfully ask that certain members of the council recuse themselves from the discussion here tonight. In particular, I ask that council members Jeff Smith, Janine Bell Smith, and Carol McGowan recuse themselves from the discussion and even excuse themselves from the chambers here tonight. The reason I'm asking for that, Mr. Mayor, is because these three members of council are on record at the Planning Commission and elsewhere as being opposed to this application. Now, granted, under Kentucky Supreme Court precedent, and specifically the Hilltop Basic Resources versus Boone County Fiscal Court, council members are not generally disqualified simply because they have taken a position on a policy issue relative to a dispute. That's not the case here. We've got three of these members who have specifically and directly indicated their opposition to this position, to this particular controversy. And under those circumstances, I think that it's fair to conclude that they are biased and prejudicial towards my client's application and are not free to make an unprejudiced and unbiased decision based on the record and the proceedings here tonight. To the contrary, I submit, Mayor, that any decision that they make would be tainted by bias, prejudice, conflict of interest, and blatant favoritism. All of those, that whole panoply of bad acts, Mr. Mayor, is by definition arbitrary. And as your attorney can tell you, arbitrary actions are contrary to the constitutional protections of the due process and would be a violation of those rights that are protect my client as well as the owner of the property. Further background, in the Hilltop case, if you're not familiar with it, Mr. Mayor, the Supreme Court actually did refuse to disqualify two of the fiscal court members who even stated publicly, and I quote, that they had steadfast opposition, let me back up a step, that they were steadfast opponents to mining activities generally. That's a direct quote from the Supreme Court case. Therefore, they found that there was nothing in the record for the Supreme Court to disqualify those members. Here we have just the opposite. We've got specific and directed comments by these three members of council that they are opposed to our request. And as proof, Mr. Mayor, I would submit for the record, and I know that you already have it in the record, the sign-in sheet from the Planning Commission public hearing from September 4th of this year, in which case all three of the members that I've listed above signed in as being against our proposal. So I would like to submit that, and there's plenty of copies to pass around. Thank you. Additionally, I know that you've had a chance to I hope that you've had a chance to review the record that was provided to you by the Planning Commission. And if you read it carefully, you will have read that each of those three council members testified at the Planning Commission and expressed their opposition to this request. Furthermore, Mayor, as further proof, at least as it relates to Janine Bell Smith, she is the one who started the ball rolling to get before the council tonight. She submitted the request for this matter to be heard by this legislative body coming out of the Planning Commission. So once again, I'd like to submit that. There's plenty of copies to pass around. Thank you. And you can see, and perhaps you've seen that file or that particular form before, she signed that as being an aggrieved person by the Planning Commission's decision. In short, Mr. Mayor, we respectfully submit that these three members of council are disqualified from participating and from voting tonight. And we request, Mr. Mayor, that they vacate the chambers so that the deliberations going forward can be untainted by their presence.
I'm going to rely on the council for any action like that. But I will say I believe that all discussions we've had this evening to this time have all been fair questions, very open questions, and no one has taken an adversarial tone in tonight's proceedings. So I'm going to let Mr. Steele answer how we should proceed because I'm not in favor.
I'd like to know if I can read my response to the letter that we all received. when we were, as in the three of us, was suggested that we not comment, and I did respond to the letter, and I'd like to give some reasoning, if that's okay.
I'm not aware of what you're talking.
I sent it to Mr. Baker, and I'd be willing to just read it, it's just a response, it's 2 paragraphs.
I think it's fine.
Could you, before she does, just so the public knows, we received, all the council members, I believe the mayor and everyone else received a letter from the attorneys, from the developer, advising what this gentleman just said, that we should reclude ourselves from any type of activity involving from this development. So I just want to let you all know, and that's what she's responding to.
Yeah, and just to clarify the record, that letter did not come from the attorney for the developer. I'm the attorney for the developer. That letter I think you're referring to came from David Heydrich, who is
Okay, yes, correct.
who's the owner of the property.
You are correct.
Who mentioned that he got legal advice.
Correct.
I've read the letter. That's a fair characterization.
So I responded, "Hi, Mr. Heinrich. Yes, I signed in to speak against the development. I then heard the discussion. I then asked my questions. Then it was explained to me a variance change being different than a zone change. No one asked me questions after that, so no one knows if my questions satisfied my curiosity or not. No one has specifically contacted me and asked me why I was opposed as I signed in. I do have a well-advertised city email that someone could easily contacted. My questions were answered. I have no further questions. I do not speak for other council members nor discuss in private city matters with other council members. For my part, I'm sorry it appears to you that the council is opposed to your development, because that is what came from the letter from Mr. Heinrich, that it appears, because 3 of us signed in opposed to it. Nobody asked me when I walked out if my mind was changed or not. That's my 3 cents.
I think it's probably appropriate to allow people to stay in the council, to let them stay, because I agree with Mr. Allen that, when the signing in happened, this was going to be, perhaps there'd been plenty of time, but nobody's, asked them since then. So I think that, as you said, the Hilltop case, and I've not read the Hilltop case, it doesn't sound definitive on what you're asking. So I think my recommendation would be to let, the city council members have been mentioned.
I was offered the paper to appeal it by Andy, and I said, no, I need to look at more things. Janine came up after me. I didn't sign an appeal paper. I don't understand why I didn't announce myself as a council member. I live in Crescent Springs. Can't I just be Carol McGowan, citizen of Crescent Springs? Absolutely.
Mayor, I've said my piece. The real reason I said this was to protect the record, as Mr. Steele might recognize. I mean, he's correct. He hasn't read the Hilltop case, but it's a very thin line between expressing your opposition to something in general for development or new multifamily housing. That's where the Supreme Court said that the fiscal court members in Boone County were okay. They were just talking in general terms about development. Here we've got 3 instances, multiple instances where these 3 members have said that they were opposed to this development. So you can't unring that bell. The well has been tainted, and I submit that and resubmit to you the request that those members recuse themselves and remove themselves. It's your decision, but again, the record is now complete that we've made the objection, and we can proceed with the rest of our presentation.
That would be great, because on advice of council, that, we're going to allow them to stay in the room.
Okay.
And further discussion.
Well, that concludes my presentation, Mayor. With that, I would like to turn it over to Dave Heydrich, who has some thoughts on the application. Following Mr. Heydrich will be Mr. Crucians and Mr. Stegman, our project engineer. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. I'm Dave Heydrich. I own the property down there. I bought that back in maybe 2013 or so. For those of you that I asked to recuse yourself, it's certainly nothing personal. And I hope that the tone of my letter was one that was not too lawyerly. It was an attempt to try to figure out what to do with this piece of property. I've been doing this for a long time. I think the first time I stood in front of a city council meeting for a zoning matter was in Fort Mitchell in 1982. Well, that was 43 years ago. So I've never had to ask a council member to recuse themselves before, so it's, like I said, it's not my style. But what we're trying to do is figure this one out. As I've mentioned in the letters that I have sent, I think the property is properly zoned. I think in 2007, when Claire was the mayor and they announced this condo, everybody had the greatest of intentions. They had the greatest, and Claire has mentioned to me she wanted to be able to live there. She wanted to be able to walk to get her milk at Ameristop. She wanted to be able to walk to Mass in the morning, and that's great, and people can still do that. But the concept of developing a condominium project over there didn't work. It didn't work in 2007. It does not work in 2025. I bought the property in 2013 when there were 3 units that were still not finished. The developer had left. The bank spent 4 or 5 years cleaning it up. I bought it from the bank. We finished those. We thought, well, we'll go ahead and we'll try and figure out how to build out the rest of this. And frankly, it just didn't make any sense. I can tell you that I have gone to the Dries Company. They looked at it. They said, we can't make it work. I've gone to the Fisher Company. They looked at it. We can't make it work. Why can't they make it work? It's the size of the project. You know, a 30-unit project doesn't make economic sense for them to develop over there as a condominium project. I went to a developer of senior housing that I know that just does stuff specifically, you know, oriented towards seniors. What I did get was a lot of interest from people that build low-income housing, that build entry-level apartments, folks that build the stuff, the guy that built the stuff next to Pee-wee's there, if you know the stuff next to Pee-wee's, it's, you know, it's frame product, maybe a one-car garage at best. There's plenty of that is available. Frankly, I didn't want to do that. I mean, this is not a massive project for me, but it is something that we own. We'd like to get our money back out of it. When I talked with Ross and Brian, it's 2 guys that live in Northern Kentucky. They've been doing this forever. These guys build stuff that's good. They take care of it. They don't sell it to the first buyer that comes along. Like, you know, you got some projects back here off of Meadowwood and the like that have just recently been developed and flipped and repainted by guys that can't wait to clean it up and market it up and raise the rents and then sell it, you know, to get their money back out of it. That's not what these guys do. Frankly, I was pleased as punch when I made the deal with them to build there. I said, this is going to be a good-looking project from a good-looking, from a well-heeled development team that is going to stand behind it and take care of it. The city would have no concerns about it. I had no idea that it was going to be this contentious, and sorry about that. Shame on me, I guess, for doing that. Ms. Smith, you asked the question, is it undevelopable if we don't get the setbacks? No, it's not. You said, you asked why is it undevelopable if we don't?
I answered that question because I thought I was not allowed to speak.
I'm giving my best. Well, you asked the question earlier and you looked for an answer. My answer is no. Something could be built there, but it's not going to be the product that you want or I want. It's not going to be a product that's going to have 2-car garages attached to every apartment. It's going to be a small little apartment, a 2-bedroom, 1-bath apartment that's going to have very minimal stuff, and it's not going to be the quality that is next door to what Claire and the rest of the condos have right now. I mean, you can build there, but you can't build what I think the neighborhood wants and deserves. I've kind of said my piece. I appreciate your time. Again, I apologize in the letter for having to send a letter, but I think it makes sense. It's the right zone. It's the right location. It's a great product with good people behind it. Sometimes zoning projects and problems take on a life of their own and they get bigger than they maybe really are, you know? This one just seems like a reasonable project for a reasonable piece of land. Unless, of course, you don't want anything built there, in which case, Mayor, if you turn it down, I'm happy to sell it to the city. okay? But
Questions for you, or should we wait for the?
I don't know much about the project, okay? I appreciate it. If there's a question that I can answer, I'll jump back up there. Thank you, guys.
Gentlemen? Well, for the record, if you don't could identify yourselves, please.
Sure. My name is Ross Crucians. I'm with Legacy Management.
I'm Brian Follenkamp with Legacy also.
First off, we're going to put the zip drive up here and so everyone can see this picture a little bit better. So,
When you do that, your name, sir, was Mr. Stegman?
I'm Don Stegman. I'm the project engineer with Cardinal Engineering.
Great, thank you.
Sorry, just a second, I'm trying to find this. Okay. Yeah, you'll just click on it and it should pull up. I'll stay up there just a minute. And then just click the.
Yeah, that's the one.
And now you're good.
That didn't work.
Well, you're good up there.
yep, it's up.
Oh, I got it.
Yep, it's up there.
Yeah.
So we wanted to, Brian and I wanted to thank you guys for having us here to look at our proposed development. Our proposal is for 17 units. The site is zoned for 20 units. Like Dave said earlier, it is zoned multifamily. We think that is the highest and best use for that. So, like I said, it's zoned for 20 units. We are proposing only 17 units. We are local developers. We've been in this North Kentucky area for a long, long time. We do keep our stuff. We do not sell anything that we have, and plan on doing the same thing also with this. So, these are Class A high-end units. All 3 beds, 2.5 baths, with rear entry, 2-car garages.
You just said 2 beds. Did you just say 3 beds?
What we're proposing is a 3 beds.
suggested the alternative was a 2-bedroom.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
So yeah, these are all 3-bed, 2.5 bath, 2-car rear entry garages. What that allows is, from Ireland, you look right at these front doors. It gives you a nice, good, clean look. We're going to invest several $1 million in this project, obviously, so everything will look good and will look nice. We do have a nice mix of some brick, some different types of siding on there that will blend in well with the existing condo that are behind us that Claire lives in too. So this was voted unanimously approval from the PDS also, for the record also. So that's all I have right now. Do you have any, Brian?
No, I think we can answer questions, or Don can come up and help answer some of the questions you guys had. Anybody has anything?
Any questions for the Legacy Group?
Yeah, I got one. I mean, I think we kind of, to, I mean, that is, okay, just like maybe one less and not be equal, or, you know what I mean?
Can you repeat that?
Like, if you, it seems to be, there's 2 main issues of the setbacks, right? Like, if you made 16 units or whatever, like, why couldn't that just be done and not need special approval for the amendments?
Andy might be a better person to actually answer this. We had to go to PDS first because it was considered a major change from the original plan that was submitted back in 2007. So we had no choice but go this direction.
I'm saying, but if you, instead of 17 units, you did 16 units, you have to do the approval stuff. That's what I'm just.
Andy, help me out, please, in that case.
Yeah, to what was said, yeah, that is the case. It kind of went through this normal process. I think what the council member is saying though is like, why can't you do like a smaller development and have it pencil out? You know, why do you need these variances? So I think that was kind of the crux of the question that I heard.
Part of our problem also is the small size of the project. We do need more units to make the project work. Mr. Hydrick would also like to get paid to be able to do it. We want to build these larger units, which will create a little nicer area, but to put something smaller, doesn't make economic sense.
Mark, I'm not there, it's an math problem. 17 will pay out better than 16.
No one's making a whole lot of money in this, I'll be honest with you. It's a very tight, very tough project to make work. And, you know, ideally what we could come back to is come back and say, hey, let's squeeze in 20 units.
With permission, I'll volunteer
Yes, sir.
myself back to microphone. I can sell it for more money to a guy that wants to build 20 units on that site right now. That's why, okay? Because there's a guy that'll build 20 units on there, 2-bedroom, 1 bath, no garages, and he'll pay me a lot more for the land. And there's no city council meetings. That's what we're here for. I think the city council has the ability to say, here's what we want, do this, do it right, and give us 17 units. Maybe I haven't communicated that accurately. So, yeah, I sit there and say, how much of a haircut am I willing to take to sell to these guys to build this project? Sorry, I jumped back up. Told myself I would.
My question is, I know with the need of housing in the state of Kentucky, the legislature has done, deals with that. Representative Jones has been a big proponent of it. Are you receiving any grants from the federal, the state, the county, or local, or anywhere else?
No, zero money, it was all our private owned money.
That's privately owned money. I like that. But you're receiving no grants. Then the next question will arise, which is going to be contentious. When you do the renting, you will have to rent to anybody that would want to live there, correct?
That is correct.
Because of the Section 8 housing rules that require you. You could not permit anyone from coming in and using subsidies in order to rent your apartments. Is that correct?
What I can tell you on that is that our rents are above what Section 8 will be willing to pay. We have thousands of units throughout northern Kentucky, and obviously we would or could accept, although we are not required to. We actually do not have to as of right now. But I can tell you our rents are way above what Section 8 can and will pay.
And you know, Steve Arlinghouse is in charge of the issue of the Section 8 housing, because he did come here and ask for if we would comply, he said we would go. But then my contention is we have a lot of Section 8 housing in this area.
Mm-hmm.
I know the International Village, I think, whatever, has not now been changed. I believe that's Mr. Zala. I know Bill Zala. We like to keep it family-owned, one-person ownership rather than renting. One family ownership, not renting. And because when you're renting, you put yourself in a situation where you might not have a choice to decide who actually lives there. The government will. Am I right on that, or?
So it's okay. We are not required by state law to accept Section 8. Although, however, if you do take it, you have to take it for the entire complex. Mm-hmm. But once again, I can also tell you that our rents are well above what Section 8 will be willing to pay or can pay. They will not pay for a $2,000 plus apartment.
I understand that, but then my contention is, for what I know, I'm trying to be very much involved, is somebody will say, I want to live here because I want to live here, and so the federal government will say, well, if you want to live here well enough, they'll make sure that you become a renter for that apartment. I mean, that's just the gossip.
Okay.
Hear the talk. It could be wrong, it could be correct, or it could be halfway. Okay.
So I've been doing this for 30 plus years. I'm actually president of the Apartment Association of Kentucky, and so very, very involved legislatively. There's nothing in there Kentucky can't figure out how to get money. The federal government can't figure out how to get money. And once again, we are not taking Section 8, and we're not required to. And once again, rents are way above what it will be. If the federal government changes their rules in 10 plus years, I can't tell you what's going to happen. But I can tell you as of today, right now, with this project, we are not taking, any Section 8 because we are above where that is supposed to be.
So you're not receiving any subsidies.
And we're not receiving any subsidies.
That is a good thing for me to know. Thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions or concerns?
In the reason that the access to the other development was shut off, the adjoining development, remember there was originally an access way? Was there a reason?
That's pretty much, they would need to answer.
Yeah. Any reason that was not?
We do not own that ground. We do not own the ground. Mr. Hydro currently showing the piece, but we do not own that ground. We don't have the right to go through that way. It's not currently an option.
But it wasn't pursued as far as.
We didn't have rights to the ground.
Yeah, correct, yes. Yeah, it's a private access, so.
And then I just briefly talked to Mike Daly before the meeting. Any particular reason the access went on to Harris? I mean, from the layout, you can kind of see that's the way it points.
Why don't we have Don explain that real quick? He's an engineer who does this every day.
Okay.
So he can give you the best
It's
answer.
just a concern.
Absolutely,
because
sure.
It's
Yep.
such a short, small street.
Let's see. So a couple of pictures here. This is actually from the adjoining development, from the edge of their pavement looking out to Ireland. So, you know, this area, to say it's gently sloped, it might be a little understatement. There's a pretty good drop, like 10 feet of drop between here and where this area is. So it situates really well for a basement garage. So when we initially talked and thought about it, we'd heard the concerns about the cars on Ireland, and these guys came up with a product that could have just the front doors on Ireland and no driveways. And I thought, man, that would be perfect because they could have you know, access to the back, drive-in garages. And I take a little bit of issue what Andy said. He said we only had like 40 some odd parking spaces. They didn't count the parking spaces in the driveway. So there's 2-car garages with a 2-car driveway in front of it. So that's, you know, 17 units times 2 is 34. Double that for the cars in the garage, you got 68 without any of the other parking spaces. So we really feel like this park's great. It doesn't use any, I mean, Ireland right now has on-street parking, which I believe some people use. But I don't see any of these residents really needing to use it because they got all of it either in their driveway, in the garage, or we've got 11 parallel parking spaces outside of that. So it really works out well. The land really says that's where the driveway should go, is you have walkouts, the pavement's in the back, and you connect over on Harrison.
Come out to the.
Comes out over to Harris.
Around back.
Arrow
Yeah.
behind you.
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah, so we took some pictures of the adjoining development. It's really interesting. So we kind of developed, these guys, I thought they did a great job developing the color palette to complement what's there. Because, I mean, if you look at that and then you look at the front of ours, the color schemes are really similar. So I thought, okay, that looks really nice with what's already there and complements, even though it's a different type of product, they're complementary. So this is, I mean, you can see how with the big slope on the left, and this is already all flat right down to Harris, it really lends itself really well to have that access on to Harris.
The other, I'll say real quick, the other reason, Collector Street. The other reason coming out that you're getting that part.
To Ireland?
Yeah.
Yeah, we avoided that because of Ireland having the traffic. We heard about the people using it as a cut through and them potentially classifying it as a collector street. And safety for that matter. So could you imagine we could put put that driveway up onto Ireland, but you'd be coming up this steep hill and getting to the end and then trying to look left or right down Ireland when your car's coming out of a steep hill.
You answered my other question.
Okay.
There won't be a build-up in elevation, you're just gonna take advantage of the topography.
Right,
And
right.
the drives come out.
And drives will come out the back.
Perfect for that.
This grade pretty much stays where it is, the grass there, and we're utilizing that slope to put the foundation in and have I mean, it sets up really good for a walkout. You know, everybody calls the walkout houses.
That's it. Thank you.
This is from Ireland looking into the development. I think one of the questions was, would any of the utility poles be relocated? No, no utility poles get relocated. We'll put sidewalk down Ireland. And then this portion on Harris, this is where the detention basin will be built. Now, from my understanding, the original development plan is it's not the original zoning plan. There was a different plan after it was zoned, because on the original zoning plan, this detached garage, that garage unit was not on that building, was not on there originally. So that pushed that pavement out here, and actually the approved development plans, what it was actually built by, call out a 15-foot setback along Ireland Avenue. So somewhere along the line, they moved the buildings over after they built that garage, or planned to build that garage and allowed a 15-foot setback. I've got the Jerry Keith plan that was approved to build, and it's what they built. We surveyed it. It matches what was on the Jerry Keith plan in 2008. So what was originally planned for in 2007 got modified, and they built that, and it's all in. So they built sewers, they built storm sewers, they built sanitary sewers, water main runs around the outside. Now, from what I've heard, they've had issues with that detention basin, which behind the original development, there's a detention basin back here. Maybe I can find it on a different picture.
I got a picture of that somewhere, I thought.
I have that one on first. No, I think it's on Andy's plans, but we'll get close. It's actually on the left side, there behind the garages, behind these buildings. So that detention basin takes the stormwater from Panera, which is detained. That gets detained and goes into the catch basins out on Ireland, which are public catch basins, which cross the street and then go through this site and come down through this site. And let's see. Pardon me. There's some storm sewer that comes down the middle of the site and then goes down into their detention basin. So when these guys were interested in the project, I told them, I said, really, you need to do that. The regulations have changed since this original development was done. That one detention basin was supposed to take care of all 3 buildings on that original plan, plus what came in from off-site. That was all supposed to go through that detention basin. So I told these guys, you guys really need to take care of all your own stormwater. So everything from the right-of-way out on Ireland, all of this area, we're all capturing and putting into this detention basin, holding it back to the new regulations, which requires more holdback. And then it ties into that existing storm system. Alternatively, I was asked by the city engineer, I guess the guys just remodeled Harris, and you put some storm sewer in down Harris, which I bet I don't have a picture of it.
You were right there.
Was I there? Well, not that one.
There's
That's
one down past the
that's
pole.
on our site. It's further down the street.
Down the street.
Yeah, down the street, there's a catch basin with a box behind it. I told the city engineer, I said, I'd be happy to work with them to get the stormwater into that system. So the possibility exists to take all this detention, so all of that area could outlet down to Harris, down in the catch basin or the storm sewer that's newly built on Harris, and then it would be completely out of the other system. That's what he's told me. Now, part of that takes, doing those calculations. I don't know. I mean, I see the fire hydrant right there. I don't have to relocate a water line to put that in there because I already have storm sewer on my site that has the capacity to take this. It was already designed for it, and I'm detaining every drop of water that goes on to our site, not the off-site, not Ireland Avenue right away, but everything on this site. We're getting all that water and going into that detention basin, and it's going to meet today's regulations, today's SD1 regulations, which is way more than it was. I've been doing this since the mid-90s, and they haven't made them any smaller. Haven't made them any easier since I started doing this work. Let's see, what other question did I hear? Oh, somebody asked about that. There's a little retaining wall we've got on the one side there to get the proper volume. I think that ranges between 3 to 5 feet. At 5 is probably the worst, but we figured it'd be a small Allen block wall. Let's see, trying to think if there was any other questions. Somebody asked about the developability, the pavement width. So the building, put the garage in, the driveway, the drive aisle, and the parking, and still get the landscaping around it to meet all those regulations. I'm maxing it out. It does not have, it can't go smaller. So it just barely fits. And these are going to be great looking townhomes.
Have you seen the access road when you come to Panera? I go there quite frequently. There's the access road, then there's this huge detention basin, and then there's Ireland, and then across the street would be your development.
Yes.
Have you looked at that detention basin lately? I look at it about 2 or 3 times a week, and I do send pictures.
I've seen some pictures, yeah.
Because
So,
it is not working, it's broken, it doesn't work.
yeah, I mean, we don't design them that way.
I know, but just so you know that the flooding issue there might be the same kind of issues we're going to be looking over here with additional.
No, that's just how you detailed that basin. So today, they make you do what's called the first flush. So it's the smaller storms, you have to hold back a lot of it. So you have to make the bottom of the basin broad, which they have. They made it broad. But then you have to put some kind of an under drain system in there, and sometimes during construction, if they don't watch it properly, it could get clogged. I don't know if that's how they built it, but that would be my guess, just if it's puddling. But we're gonna do an under drain system, which will completely drain out.
So who will pay the cost of doing this detention basin for your apartments?
The developer.
Us.
Yeah, it'll be privately owned, privately maintained.
It's us.
Your detention basin will be your responsibility.
Absolutely,
Because
yes.
I remember at the meeting, I actually shook hands with both of you gentlemen. You said, well, don't worry about that, SD1 will take care of it. And I know lots of questions.
SD1 approves the plans that
Yeah.
Don,
Yeah, I have to get
Draws
them
up.
approved through SD1, but they're only a regulating body. They have no maintenance responsibility. They do have the ability to come and look at it and tell us whether they believe it's functioning properly, and then make these guys fix it if they don't feel like it's functioning properly.
So if you don't get SD1's approval, what happens then?
Well, I would,
It's done?
no, you have to get their approval of the building. So that's part of the development plan.
To make it happen?
Yeah,
Yeah, we have to build it.
I'd have to modify it and make it
it
to
work.
where they would approve it.
I just can't imagine, I'm a homeowner myself, I don't have water problem, I live up on the hill here, but to have water completely always an issue anytime it rains is very concerning. And I know anybody that lives in that area is very prone to flooding. I know Harris is, Jeff lives over there, then the access road and these new, and I also, the teacher, what about our schools and our buses and our fire department being able to have access to these properties? Because I guess they'll come down Ireland, that'll be their way.
Yeah, the buses and fire trucks, they got great access because they can have pavement both in the front and the back.
Those are all things to take into consideration.
This has got fantastic access compared to some of the other ones I've seen developed.
Any other questions or comments?
Just one, has your team or SD1 looked at the downstream erosion where all the storm water lets out onto private property? I did show some pictures of the planning commission, I believe, and I was curious if anybody had addressed that issue.
I have not. I do know that we are capturing all the water that we're fully complying with what SD1 would require for this site. So, but have they asked us to look any beyond? No, they have not. But we're not at that point. Right now, we're just asking for a concept plan. I'm not in design drawings yet, so there's a lot more corresponding and calculations and stuff I have to do with SD1.
Sure. Well, just have them take a look at that downstream erosion because it's pretty massive.
Anything else?
Well, the time clock is clicking. This has to be decided by December the 3rd. Is that
Okay.
correct? Or are you
I don't-
automatically?
I don't know
Am I
the
correct on
date.
that? Oh, that was the Kent County thing.
Andy.
Yeah, Andy would then.
Yeah, that's per state statute, so that's not something that is their deadline, but state statute says that, final action within 90 days. Otherwise, the planning commission recommendation becomes final.
No. Say that again. What happens because the deadline would be December the 3rd, which would be 90 days. Am I
Yeah.
correct on that?
Yeah, I believe so, yes.
So what happens if we don't meet that?
Planning commission recommendation becomes final.
It becomes final and it goes in.
Right.
So if it's a given thing, you go with the building and we're all finished.
Right.
Thank you.
Yeah, I did get that.
Any other questions?
No question.
No, I thank you all very much for your time.
Great.
and
Thank
coming
you.
here and meeting with us.
Appreciate it.
Thank you very much, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Chief White.
Well, I'm going to stick around, but I'll still do it.
Good evening. I'll try and be as brief as possible. 72 fire calls for September, 501 year-to-date, 121 ambulance calls, 975 year-to-date. Both those figures are up about 20 to 25%. I did get a notice from our ambulance billing company asking, quite frankly, they asked if we had some type of natural disaster because the jump that we've seen in fire and ambulance calls are off their chart. They're not, they said that that's the type of thing they see with somebody that has a natural disaster in their community. So we are increasing that much in calls. Next month, where I had the calls broke out yearly total, I'm going to compare that to last year. So there'll be a third column there. Good news is the firehouse is complete. We've closed out the contract with Century. $82,000 was returned to the city of Crescent Springs, $123,000 to the city of Ville Hills.
And just to be clear, we came in about 20 grand under budget. I think that was the round number.
Yes.
The money we received back was because of the money management by the fire authority, and in particular, Mr. Cahill, putting the money in investments, in interest-bearing savings accounts, and because of his hard work and diligence, we made $200,000 to split between the two cities on the money that we committed. So kudos to the fire authority and in particular to Mr. Cable.
Absolutely. Couple holdups with the government shutdown. We are not receiving Medicaid, Medicare money right now, and we are unable to access our FEMA grants. So we have applied for close to $750,000 in FEMA grants for staffing and for equipment, and we can't see any of that at this time. We did have a structure fire on Buttermilk right here on Friday, which shut down Buttermilk for about 35 minutes. The fire was put out quickly. It was a room and contents fire, still under investigation. Last thing I have is there's a talk with the fire authority. Jim Cahill has met with both mayors about the lack of funding right now. We are paying out a great deal of overtime just to keep our staffing up. And the best way to put that is, and we've talked about this before, we have full-time employees, and then we have our part-time employees. The part-time employees are to complement, the ideal number is to have 7 a day. However, the part-time employees work full-time in another fire department. So if the other fire department, like we are, is short, they're willing to pay overtime. And a lot of departments mandate their full-time employees to come back and work overtime. So what happens is 24 hours, I get a phone call, and it's, I can't work tomorrow, I've been mandated at my full-time job. So the ball rolls downhill, and we have to pay out overtime to cover it. And it's just a matter of the safety of covering the city. The days of relying on 10 or 12 volunteers is gone. We're down to 3 or 4 that a day that we can rely on. Quite frankly, one's 70 years old, and I really don't want to put him into a fire. So it's the overtime problem is a real problem. The other real problem is fire departments are competing against each other. Just last week, Burlington Fire Department set a new standard of what they're paying. Their starting pay is $100,000. The city of Fort Thomas will come right back, and they want to be the highest, they'll match it, or they'll go higher. So it is a constant battle to keep employees, especially part-time. Like I said, Jim Cahill has met with both mayors. We're trying to come up with some type of plan to fund. The good thing is with the amount of calls being up, is the squad billing is up, but it's not gonna cover the full amount.
Yeah, so once we get some sort of plan and structure what that plan looks like, then we're gonna come back to councils and say, here's what we think we need to do. I know that Chief Went has kept the budget for the fire department. There were years when there was no increase at all.
Right.
Utilities went up, insurance went up, and Chief was able to keep his budget at a $0 increase. Unfortunately, I think that time is probably about over, and we're gonna have to look at some increase in the budget there to keep it operational, but we don't have information on what that looks like yet. So to come and give any numbers of, it's gonna be $100,000, it's gonna be $10 million would be me just blowing numbers up like I just did. We don't have a number. But once we get that in the next couple of months, we will be back.
Chief Wayne?
Yes.
Do you have access or ability to tell what started the fire in Buttermilk at DJ Butler's using fire request?
So, we did call in a fire investigation team. They were unable to come up with the cause right now.
They didn't come up with it, because
No.
there's another answer that I've been hearing and from the owner itself. And
No, so I can tell you there's 3 businesses in that office space.
yes.
The security business, it started in one of the offices of the security business. It was contained to the owner of the business's desk, not his desk, but that room. There is smoke and water damage on the hair salon and in the DJ Butler part. But as a cause, we may not know. We know it started on the desk and it was fairly up high, so.
Thank you.
No problem.
You said you were pursuing grants for the
Yeah.
full-time and part-time?
Yeah, so it's called a SAFER grant, and a SAFER grant, what it is FEMA will pay a portion of our paid staff for the next 5 years, with the guarantee that they are employed for 8 years. So they will pay 100% the first year, and it's staggered. We applied for that grant last year, did not get it. We were pretty confident we were going to get it this year, but right now it's everything. I can't even get into the website. All good?
We're good? Thanks, Chief.
Thanks.
Chief Hall.
If I could have passed the fire test, Burlington Fire Department, look at that. Just real quick, I know everybody got the report. I'll make this as quick and brief as possible. When you look at dispatch calls for the month, 51% of the calls were in Crescent Springs, 49% to Villa Hills. We did issue out 69 traffic citations, 168 courtesy notices, had 22 traffic collisions, 16 crimes, 17 e-call or incident reports, 5 domestic reports, and 3 crisis intervention forms. Just kind of going through some of the highlights here just so I can kind of point out, because I know you guys had a long night. A couple cases that Detective Sergeant Lucas is working on and continues to work. He is able to close out a case with organized crime and conspiracy, utilizing our integration of flock camera systems that we are receiving. There are 2 currently in Villa Hills right now. The 3 other ones that are being 811. Having all the assessments being done on that, so kudos to that. We actually utilize Florence Flock's cameras for this case in particular, but because we are now part of that system, we're able to utilize their system as well. So we already have a case helping solve that with the Flock camera system. He also stayed busy with 2 different fire call-outs for the arson investigation team, one being our fatal fire that we did have last month. Again, this is for the month of September. K9 Onyx and Sergeant Dooley, he had 2 different training courses for the month, so he did only have 1 deployment, but I do want to make a big ode to Sergeant Dooley. He was assisted by the FBI Safe Streets and the Northern Kentucky Drug Strike Force, as he is a part-time agent with the Northern Kentucky Drug Strike Force. We received information about a resident that was possessing and selling, I got to get this right, machine gun conversion devices. Which is a federal offense, and this did lead to a couple different arrests that were, those suspects were already federally indicted. So kudos to Sergeant Dooley and obviously all the assistance and the collaboration we have between our federal agency partners as well. That was in Crescent Springs, ma'am. Our department overtime, we had 11 hours in court. 13 hours for shift coverage, 4 hours for the Fall Festival. That was an excellent event, so put on by both cities, so fantastic for that. And we had 12 hours for park security, which you will see. That was for when the playground equipment was going in. And kudos to Tanya and her crew. They were kind of put under a mandate to protect the grounds as the new services went in. That was basically from a Friday morning till a Monday morning. Director Miller asked that if the police department could do any assistance, and we gave them Saturday night off. So that's where 12 hours of that overtime came in on that. So, but that is my report, and it's as brief as possible.
Any questions for Chief Hall?
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Director Miller.
Good evening. I'll just be as brief as I can as well. The fence installation went in at the city park, completed by R&M. The street cleaning was completed on October the 23rd. The blacktop project for Crescent Avenue in Short Amsterdam is scheduled to begin in early November. Crescent Avenue Railroad has been doing some work on the railroad there, and they've damaged some of the curb and some of the roads, so they're going to replace that before the blacktop work starts. The park restrooms will be closed November the 1st for winter. Dennis Wentz, he is our part-time weekend guy, and he will end work on November the 5th and then pick back up on April the 1st. Right now we are getting estimates on the playground lights to get those redone at the park by the playground area. We have an appointment on October the 30th. And then some safety training. Barry completed his road scholars, and he's continuing on to do his road masters. That's all I got.
Improvements on Rip Way too?
On the sidewalk from Rips Way, yes, that'll be coming in spring. Yes.
Anything else for Director Miller?
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I will be brief on mine. I think that Mr. Daly's going to talk briefly about this as well. We have the 2 open houses scheduled this week for the original section of Crescent Springs and the road options that we are proposing there. Those are open to all residents. The city to come and see what the engineer and the team have put in place to possibly change. I do want to call out that the park is finished, the fence is up. We now need to work on starting to think about, we have a nice green space next to the park, next to the playground equipment, and we had a small committee, but I think we need to get that going to see what we can do to maybe put some there, the ideas, and I was given a couple at the park opening. One that I mentioned a couple months ago was pickleball. Lots of people tell me pickleball. I don't play, but apparently people love it. But one is to have storyboards along the walking trail, so like every 500 feet, it's a small blurb for a story for a child to read or for a parent to read to the child. So when they get done with the circle in the park, they've read a story. Something that we can, change out monthly to put a new story there. And the other thing is to measure every 1,000 feet or every 500 feet so that people know how far they walk. Not everybody has an Apple Watch or another type of watch to know as you're walking through the park what kind of distance you're walking. So those are just the ideas that I've been given. I'll get with Don and get a meeting set up and publicize it and see if we can go back and get some more ideas. And that is all I have. Mr. Daly.
Mr. Mayor Doherty, I have 4 items to cover in my report. The first item is the Infra Hub Building Psyche meeting has been scheduled for this week. I have a Monday, but it's a Thursday, October 20. Actually, it's Thursday this week at 11:30 a.m. It's going to be in Edgewood at their training center. And city staff will be attending because part of that meeting is about the training of the new software that will be received for our roads and conditions and things like that. As Mayor Doherty was mentioning, the community open houses are this week. We have 2 of them, one tomorrow, Tuesday, 2 to 4, and one Thursday, 6:30 to 8. And streets under review are Main Street, Padre Terrace, Euclid Avenue, Estelle Avenue, Ferncliff Avenue, Jefferson Street, Gibson Place, Watkins Street, and Enid Avenue. The third item is the city website updates from the Transparency and Communications Committee meeting that we had a few weeks back. One of the specific things that came from that meeting was looking at improving the city website with different updates, such as the littlest thing can be an example of a picture here or there. Staff has been working on that, and if you've been on the website lately, there are improvements starting to be seen on the website itself. And lastly, the audit presentation is scheduled. The first one will be in front of the Finance Committee on Monday, November 17th at 4 p.m. The second one will be in front of this group on Monday, November 24th at 6 p.m. And that's all I have in my report. However, if there's any questions, I will try to answer them for you.
Hearing none, thank you. Any old business?
No, we did have open house, open house, excuse me. We did have the mayor's meeting in Crescent Springs, Villa Hills.
Yes.
I was there. It was a great group of people. I knew quite a few of them. And one of the things that was brought up that caught everyone's attention was the fact that these bicycles that are run on electric, using the streets and using the sidewalks. Gay Sunny gave a presentation, addressed it. She didn't really give a presentation, but she basically said we should take it back to the councils and basically see what we should do about these bicycles and electric scooters. And I see quite a few of them in my neighborhood. Children love them. But we really need to have Gabe Sunny come here and tell us her rules and regulations on her side, just because they might need to have registered and all such another, as the county clerk situation where these people might need to put this information in. And I guess maybe like a motorcycle, get a sign on the back of your scooter and say, here you are. I don't know.
I will defer to the chief. He has mentioned that before, that there's issues with that, and I defer to the chief. Any comment, Chief Paul?
The only thing I would suggest, and I have no problem with somebody coming in, but I would just tell to everybody, look at KRS 189-289. That's what the law states for electric low-speed scooters.
What is that again?
KRS 189.289.
Yeah,
That's
KRS.
That is for the electric low-speed scooters.
So how do you interpret that KRS then?
It spells it out specifically that you have to be 16 years of age. For it to be ridden on the roadway, it has to be 16 years of age and everything. It spells it out.
Could we get documentation of that so that we could put it on the website and people could be aware of it?
I think it was actually also included in the newsletter as well, so, but I can certainly get that forwarded too.
Because this was an issue.
For the scooters.
There is no speed limit for the scooters. It's a speed limit on the road is what it is. Most of these scooters that are out there go between 19 and 22 miles an hour. So, but if they're going to be on the roadway, again, if they're being legally ridden over 16 years of age, they have to have like headlight, working tail light, things like that, then they have to abide by all the rules of the road, just like a bicycle being on the road as well.
I don't think the parents are aware of that, and the children aren't. They wouldn't intentionally miss.
The parents are the one that are buying this. I've said this in several councils and everything else. The parents are the one that are buying these electric low-speed scooters. I encourage the parent to educate themselves and educate their children on the proper laws of the land.
Because they will speed through stop signs, both sides of the road.
Yep.
I don't want to hit one of them.
I agree. Thanks, sir.
New business is first reading of ordinance 2025-11. This is to approve the concept plan. Again, this is an ordinance, so there will be no vote on this evening. It's just the first reading, and the vote will take place at the November meeting. Mr. Steele.
Thank you, Mayor. An ordinance of the City of Crescent Springs, Kentucky, approving an amended concept development plan regarding the property located at 620-632 Ireland Avenue, an area of approximately 1.09 acres located at the northeast corner of the intersection of Ireland Avenue and Harris Street in Crescent Springs, including adoption of the Kenton County Planning Commission variances as stated in file number PC-25-0010-MA. Whereas an application was filed by Ross Krujans on behalf of Ireland Development LLC requesting approval of an amended concept development plan within the R-MF residential multifamily zone of the Crescent Springs zoning ordinance, including 2 variance requests to reduce required building setbacks for property located at 620-632 Ireland Avenue, an area of approximately 1.09 acres located at the northeast corner of the intersection of Ireland Avenue and Harris Street in Crescent Springs. And whereas the Kenton County Planning Commission held a public hearing on September 4th, 2005, received a staff report of Planning and Development Services, PDS, and testimony from the applicant, and recommended approval of the amended concept development plan and associated variances as set forth in file number PC-25-0010-MA. And whereas the Kenton County Planning Commission further recommended approval of the 2 variances to reduce the front yard setback along Ireland Avenue from 25 feet to 15 feet, and to reduce the side yard setback along the property line in common with 2412 Sarah Lane from 25 feet to 12 feet. And whereas following the Planning Commission's recommendation, an aggrieved person filed an appeal pursuant to KRS 100.211 and Article 17 of the Crescent Springs zoning ordinance Z21, thereby transferring final decision-making authority on this matter to the Crescent Springs City Council. And whereas the City Council has reviewed the record and recommendation of the Kenton County Planning Commission and a report of PDS, and has determined that the proposed amended concept development plan and variances are consistent with the intent and purpose of the Crescent Springs zoning ordinance and the comprehensive plan. Now therefore be ordained by the City of Crescent Springs, Kentucky, that after review of the record and recommendation of the Kenton County Planning Commission regarding file number PC-25-0010-MA, and consideration of evidence and testimony presented, the City Council hereby approves the amended concept development plan and associate variance request for the property located at 620-632 Ireland Avenue, an area of approximately 1.09 acres located at the northeast corner of the intersection of Ireland Avenue and Harris Street in Crescent Springs. The report and recommendation of the Kenton County Planning Commission are hereby adopted and incorporated here on reference as if fully set forth.
Thank you. Again, no action on this evening. The action will be at the November meeting. Any committee reports? Any comments from the gallery? Hearing none, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn this meeting. Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? So moved.